guys, today we are going to kind of take a look at the front yard landscape and the window boxes up front in front of the house. And this is the first year that this garden has gone through a winter. We created this garden last spring, so it's really exciting to see it return and to see what it brings with it in all the beautiful blooms. And I have to say my favorite is this salvia right here. It's called Back to the Fuchsia, which I think is a really clever name. I was just kind of laughing about this because I had to actually figure out what the name of this one was because I loved it so much. And when I found the name, I had to laugh. It's such a clever name, and it's so gorgeous in the garden. It's beautifully, like, with its width, its height, the flower color. It's one of my favorites. Here we have some different grasses that are just starting to return. We always keep our grasses grown in the winter. We don't cut them back in the winter, before the winter. But we did cut them back once, we're kind of clear of some really cold weather or any snow. And then they return really nicely. So they have that protection during the winter. So those are a couple different types of miscanthus grass in around the other side that I'll show you in a little bit. I don't remember the names of these. I believe they're a type of a yucca. I'm not sure. I really need to look at that though, because I also love these. So hardy. They look like something that would grow in the south or in Arizona, or so it's really cool to see something like that in our landscape here in Wisconsin. And all of these perennials are from Walter's Gardens, and we are so grateful that they provide these beautiful plants for us to be able to share with all of you and to share our favorites and some really fun garden ideas and design ideas. So we really have a lot of fun, and we can't wait to share this on a more personal level as the years go on through tours. In the front we have some dianthus, which I really think brightens up the whole look of this garden. I don't remember, but I believe this is Paint the Town Magenta. It's really showy. It's just a floor of beautiful hot pink flowers. I'm kind of sitting in front of the other one right here, and it's just really showy, as you can tell, and the flowers smell so good and so sweet. I love them, and I actually put them into a wildflower mix, and we distilled the wildflowers together. It smelled terrible altogether, so it was a flop, but you got to try new things. And then we also added the magnolia tree in the fall, and it flowered this spring, and it was so beautiful. It started out with this beautiful, like darker pink flower, and then opened white, and it was awesome. But the flowers only lasted a few days. But the leaves themselves are gorgeous. They're large, and so it'll just be nice having something with green and with height right in this area. In the front over here we have the Russian sage, which you guys know is one of my favorites. I put it in any garden I can get it into. I just love how the blue flowers they last so long, and the color is just so calming. And you'll see that as the summer goes on. And then over here, they don't look like much now, but these are our Sweet Romance lavenders. What I've learned this year with this variety, and many varieties of lavender really, is that they do take a little bit longer to return than other perennials. Every perennial kind of has its own timing. And these are definitely a little bit later than the salvias and the dianthus and varieties like that. We added these trees in front in the fall last year, at the same time that we added the magnolia tree. But the one thing is, I know I could have planted perennials right in this area, but I wanted some additional color. So when you come up to the front step here, you're greeted with some really bright florals to make it just a happier day for you. So we went with the wave petunias, which are great not only in containers and baskets, but they're also a great ground cover, and they come in so many different colors. They're really an affordable plant to buy. Also an easy seed to germinate. So that's a really great choice and option for colorful ground covers. They won't return next year. They're annual for you cold weather people like me in Zone 5. But they just really will fill in nice. And I'll show you where I did that throughout the rest as well. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of just the flowering ones through this garden, and we can continue on in this garden at a later date when everything's a little bit more lush and full and colorful. But this is the cat's pajamas. I love this plant. It's so showy, has beautiful blooms, and it really goes all summer for us. We just usually keep up with deadheading it so we get rid of some of the bad flowers, which really promotes new growth, which then creates new flowers. So the bees love it. This is a great pollinator plant throughout our gardens here, and it draws in a lot of the bumblebees. The bumblebees are really drawn to it. And flower. It's just awesome. I don't think I need to say any more about that one. All right, so I'm going to take you to probably the most unattractive part of the garden right now, even though I'm showing you beautiful flowers, and then I come here to these little stumps. But this is the hibiscus, and this one is the summerific hibiscus, and I love them. They get so huge. That's why you see this big gap here, and they get huge flowers on them. And the one thing that I've noticed is that they just kind of like the lavender. It takes them a while to return, and they don't return from the bark of this. They return from shoots from under the ground. So I just find it really interesting that this is where they're at right now, but they're going to be ginormous in like probably another like month. So once they start popping up, they grow super fast then. They just really fill in, and they really thrive on sun and heat. They love it. And then I also do fertilize these because if you want a lot of blooms on your hibiscus, you're going to need to fertilize them. So we always use the Jack's fertilizer. There's many different types of fertilizer. We use that kind of fertilizer on just our flowers, not our food. But we use more of like the bloom booster would probably be the best for something like this. Over like an all-purpose, a bloom booster would be best if that's what your goal is more flowers. So just wanted to share this because I think it'll be fun to see it now and then see it in another month, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that does not look like little stick stumps sitting there, and it's going to be nice and huge, like a nice bush. Alright, so as you can see, beyond the weeds, I got a weed up here yet, so we also have the little purple flowers kind of in here. So these are those wave petunias like I showed you just before, but these are them as a small seedling. So we put about 4 seedlings together. We had them growing in a 288 tray. So one tray has 288 plants, and we put 4 together so then that way they can take off a lot easier when they're paired together. So that way we have more ground cover with all this beautiful purple flowers, and it kind of goes throughout our garden. Anywhere I see kind of like a little bit of a gap, even though things will grow in and you won't have much of a gap, there's still a little gap. And you know how I am. I'm an overstuffer with everything. And I found that I'm the same way in a ground bed. So over here by this new tree that we have, this is some type of like a cedar tree. I'm not sure. Jason knows more on the types of trees we pick out. I just am like, that's pretty, let's add it. So it's just starting to return. It's looking beautiful. But it was really bare around it, and I didn't want to dig holes into the root ball. It's such a fairly new tree. I didn't want that to disturb the growth of the plant, so I thought, what better thing to add than little mini seedlings? And we could always do that with small perennial seedlings too, but I felt like this year I just wanted to go with instant color, so it'll take about a month for these to really grow in and really show off, and it'll be really pretty, I think. So over here we have heucheras. You guys know I love heucheras. Any type of colorful foliage is great because then you never have to wait for a flower. You just always have this beautiful color, even though they still get little flowers coming up. I actually forgot the name of this one specifically, but it's really gorgeous. And the cooler it gets in the fall, the more vibrant it gets as well. So I always think about fall when I'm designing things too. I don't always like to just go with hot, vibrant colors and then be stuck with that in the fall. I like adding in touches of oranges, purples. I'm not so much of a yellow person, but every once in a while you'll see some yellow in there. But just to kind of add that fall touch. So in here, it's still under construction. Last year we talked about adding some landscape stone, but that never happened, you know. By the time all the projects were done and we had everything that we needed in order to maintain the gardens, it all adds up, and it just was not in the budget. So we made sure it was in the budget this year. I don't know when it's happening, but we're going to be having to fix this landscape little cloth here, and then we'll throw down some landscape gravel and then put a little sitting space right here so we have somewhere to sit in the front yard. So I'm coming up here and I'm quickly realizing that my stuff is dry. I always just stick my finger in there, and if it's literally dry dirt, it's time to water. And usually when I water, I'll water it all the way through, except for when it's first planted. You can, it's okay, but then it doesn't mean you need to water the next day. Make sure you wait until it dries out really well until you water it the next time. When plants are just starting, that's like a crucial time for watering. You don't want to just keep watering and watering. They're going to get overwatered and they're going to die. So only water when dry, because there's so much extra soil compared to what their actual root ball is and needs, that you don't need to just be drenching and drenching. It can only handle so much. These aren't water plants, you know. So in here this year, I just, you know, I didn't really think about it too much. I've been more focused on what we're going to do in the raised beds with what we're growing. So I just wanted something bright and happy, and I wanted to feel like I was on a tropical vacation. And I feel like these are going to do it, because I've got the cannas in there. This one's just about to pop up. So these are just the seed cannas. So they'll only get about 24 to 36 inches at the most. They'll have a beautiful orange flower. So those are nice. These are the calliope coral color here. They're absolutely gorgeous. And then more of those Petunia paradise is what it's called. It's nice and bright and tropical. And this is a lime coleus back here. I actually don't know the variety name of this one. I didn't save the tags for that. It's my first year with this one, so I have no idea what it's going to do. So how tall or big or wide it's going to get, I guess we'll see. I have no idea. Usually I'm always just focused on making this, you know, the biggest box ever. But this year I'm just kind of like, I'm just doing what feels bright and happy, and how big it gets is how big it gets. And then here we've got the margarita potato vine as well. So that'll be some nice lime chartreuse color trailing down and filling in. So we've got two of those. And then we've got the paradise kind of filling in between there. So lots of vibrant color coming from this box and coming from this box. So it's going to be bright. I'm really excited to see what these do, and I can't wait to share like how they look throughout the season with you guys, because I have a feeling that these might end up being my favorite boxes, but don't quote me. Alright, so these aren't as showy as they probably would have been a couple hours ago, because they need water. As you can see, they're starting to kind of get a little droopy, a little more than a little droopy, but as you can see here too, there's some wind damage to it. We've had very, very strong winds these past 2 days, and you'll see that some of your plants will get wind burn. Like the leaves will darken up and get crisp and just fall flat and die. That's just kind of, you know, what it does. So that's a little unfortunate, but we do need to water it. This is one of those where I don't have to stick my finger in. You can just look at it and know. And so we'll water it up really good. I'm also going to fertilize it. Need some fertilizer. We use Osmocote in all of our containers before starting. We mix that into the soil, so that way you have a time-release fertilizer throughout the season, especially here under the overhang with a shady container. You want to use a little less of the amount of fertilizer that you would use that they suggest on the bottle when you're dealing with a shadier container. And the reason why I say that is because they don't dry out as fast, so you don't want them just sitting in that time release all the time. So we have a New Guinea impatient in here, which also loves shade. So I just always just remove the dead flowers. That's typical maintenance. Makes it look pretty, helps it promote new flowers, and also takes the focus off the dead flowers and growth and focuses it on the growth of the actual plant. So that's what's nice. As you can see too, I've got like cedar sawdustings on top of my plants here. That's from those big carpenter bees that are digging holes everywhere. So we'll have to see what we can do about that. But right now it looks like Jason was building up here or something, but it wasn't him. It's these bees above. So in here then we also have a plectranthus, and then fishnet stockings in the back of a coleus. We have the Rocapoco impatiens, so that's like a double impatient, and those ones get nice and large. So it's not like your typical, you know, flat impatient that you're using in a garden bed. Like these are more for container gardens. They're a little bit spendier, but they're definitely worth it. And then we have a beautiful potato vine in the front here, and a fuchsia, which I think it'll do okay. It just got whipped around so bad. And then we have some Lismachia here, which is always beautiful. It's a creeping Jenny, so you want to keep that to your containers. Don't put that in the ground. Always you'll get it everywhere. And a little bit of trusty Rusty. You can always trust in Rusty in your containers. And then over here, this one just kind of mimics it. The only difference is we did a different type of fuchsia that I'm trying out a few different types of fuchsias here. And then just a different color of a Rocapoco. So I love these containers. I just got these this year from the At Home store, it's called. And I just really wanted something that blended more up front here, something a little bit more clean lined, something that just wasn't like all about containers up here, and it just looked cleaner. And then I got to dress them up with something bright, and these were perfect, and they were reasonably priced. They were in their clearance section in springtime, so they must have been trying to get rid of their stock from the past year or 2 years maybe. So I got them each for only like $60, which is really good. They're actually more lightweight, so it's not like you can't lift them. So it's not cement. And we do fill it all with soil. So I know a lot of times people will fill the bottom with something else and then do soil. And that would have been fine for this combination here, but we did fill them with soil. And then next year we'll only empty out half of the soil and then fill in the rest, because the bottom soil, you know, I don't even know if these roots are going to even reach. So I guess that'll be telling by the end of the season. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. There's plenty more to come, so if you liked it, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't already. Have a great day.